Hello, and welcome to another episode of Winning Where It Matters. My name is Kyei Amoako, and it's a pleasure to have you join me once again. This week, I've been thinking about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, former South African president, spent 27 years in prison and eventually was released and became president of South Africa. He came to mind because he was released on February 11th. And so, as the news headlines flashed commemorating that day, got me thinking about him and reminded me of a movie that was made about him. It's a movie called Invictus. It featured Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman. And in that movie, they highlighted a poem that he leaned on for most of the time in prison to draw inspiration from. And the movie is by the same name as the poem. The poem is by William Henley. And in that poem, there is a closing line that says, I am the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. You've probably heard that, in a post on social media, or other people have used it in different circumstances. But as I thought about the poem and I thought about those finishing lines, it led me to ask that question. Are you the master of your fate and the captain of your soul? Am I the master of my fate and the captain of my soul? Well, let's dig into that because that question opens the door to the things that we control and the things that we do not control. Now, when William Henley wrote that poem in 1875, the man was in hospital. He had tuberculosis of the bones. One leg had already been cut off. He was in pain. And that's when he wrote this poem. So I'm going to read the poem from William Henley, if that's okay. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In a fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now, when you hear the quote without the context, it may lead to a thought that, oh, this is just people just being arrogant and calling themselves masters of their fate. But this is a man who was in a pretty rough state and was claiming that he was the master of his fate and captain of his soul. And what we get from reading this poem, and again applying to the context, was not a claim of invincibility or saying that somehow he controls the universe and can let situations bend to his will, because he was not in a very good state and things didn't look very promising. But rather, I think it is that affirmation of the resilience that we have within us, the personal power that we have that says, hey, I may not be able to control all the circumstances around me, but I'm going to choose my responses intentionally and not just bow my head in defeat, but I'm going to push forward and make decisions that help me move towards the things that matter. So there are things that we don't control. Henley was sick in a hospital. I don't know if he controlled his health because things were just getting bad and worse. But he chose to focus on the fact that he is not going to bow his head in surrender. He was choosing to focus on the things that he could control. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. I don't think he knew there was going to be a day that he was going to be free, and let alone become president of South Africa. But somehow he held on to that personal belief, that personal power from within him that says, listen, I'm going to choose to control the things that I can control, because you can't control a lot of things. You don't control where you were born, you don't control the actions of other people, but you can control how you respond to circumstances. You can control your decisions in choosing the things that matter most to you. So I came to remind you that you have a choice in the matter, and I want you to choose carefully. And by that, I'm going to leave you with a question. Are you a master of your fate and a captain of your soul? Your answer to that question will determine how you respond to circumstances around you, especially those that are not within your control. If there's any way I could help in navigating the things that you're navigating in this season of your life, don't hesitate to reach out. As always, I believe in you, and I hope you believe in yourself too. I'll see you on the next one.